a step ahead in getting organised with that, and that's helped me. Because I think when you're going on the air and people are listening, and especially if you have a personal brand as well, like I do, you want to make sure that you're giving out your best to your followers and your listeners. So just to wing it on the air, I don't think looks professional. I don't think is going to be good for people to work from and try and learn from. So that's what I've learned from the beginning, stay organised. And I've tried to stay organised throughout that year. And I think that's really helped me have a good show, feel confident on the air, and want to continue to do the show as well.
Okay, that sounds very good advice, I think. Always organised for anything, really. But I also like to know, Sarah, is there anybody that wanted to be on your show and you decided yes, and then last minute you thought, this person's not going to be right for the show? And has that ever happened?
Yes, I think a couple of times I've had people contact me about being on the show, and then when I've spoken to them, I don't know if they've had enough to share that my guests are going to appreciate. You know, if they are not that good at conversation and their conversation with me is very short and it's yes and it's no, and they're extremely quiet. I'm not saying the guests I've had on haven't been quiet, and, you know, they're not always overconfident. But if somebody doesn't have that much to share, then I don't know how they're going to speak for an hour about helping other people for the hour. So sometimes, you know, just a couple of times when I've spoken to people, it hasn't been a fit for me. Yeah, you know, I had a message one time from someone that just said, you know, yo, Sarah, I want to be on your show. And I'm like, oh, okay, what are we going to talk about? Oh, anything. You know, I need more of a description other than yo, Sarah, and I need a bit more description of, you know, what are you going to talk about? The word anything could mean anything, and I want to make sure that I've got everything set out ahead of time so I know what we're speaking about, what are you offering to everybody, and why are you helping people create a life they love. That's my big concept every single time. So you have to really impress me in what you want to talk about, and so someone's listening. So if you're just going to give me a couple of words or not really know what you want to speak about, then I don't know if my show is the right place for you. I think maybe you need to do a live from your Facebook page and just do that and start to do that. But I really want to make sure that I have a high reputation of having great guests on there. I want to keep that reputation, and I want a variety of guests that are offering so many different things, but I do need them to be able to speak for an hour at that point. So that's when I don't want the guests if they haven't got too much to share that's helpful.
So, Sarah, have you evolved? Have you learned a lot from your guests? By interviewing them, changed something, like changed trajectory, your life going to another direction, or has something like changed drastically, or you've just changed gradually as you've gone along?
I think what's been very interesting is that I've been in the industry for a long time. So for me, my time has to be spent very, very carefully with people. In my time, I really, really yearn to have productive days. So all of my time that I spend is always with people I want to spend the time with. I want to have a productive day, and I want a good outcome from that relationship. So when I've listened to the other guests that have come on, and, you know, obviously I've talked to them ahead of time, so I've always been able to know what they're going to be talking about. It's been really great for me to listen and almost get an affirmation of things that I've been doing for years, and they're also doing it successfully. And I'm like, wow, this is working because they've been doing this. They agree that this is the best way to go with this. I love this. So some of the people that I've spoken to, they've almost just checkmarked what I've been already doing, and I like that. And a lot of the people that I've spoke to are big people as well. They love people, they love communication, they love doing lots of things that I do. So all it's done is encourage me to further myself doing that. But at the same time, I've spoken to some guests that have had me thinking a different way on some different points. And it's been really great to get their opinion on the other side of different things. When I had a relationship coach come on, she really talked about, spending time with your partner, spending time with your family and friends, setting time aside for that, which I've always done. But she really, really got me to think of the absolute importance of that as well. I had another guest that came on that talked about, life goes by so quickly. What are you going to do with it? Like, what are you going to do when there's a certain amount of candles on the cake at that time? What are you going to do? You're going to go, oh, time's flying by. I've got to make this count. So there's been different people that have come on that have really made me think. One of the guests talked about it's never too late to do anything. Anything that you do, there's always time. Never think that you're too old to start anything. Never think that there's the end of the road in a goal or some sort of ambitious thing that you want to do. There's that. There's also people that have come on and talked about financial things that have had me thinking a bit more about finances, maybe a little bit differently. There's people that have come on that have talked to me about business things. And I've even had spiritual people on that maybe I would not have believed in that before, but different ways that they've like put that message across. It's had me thinking, wow, you're right. This is the right way to think about that. You know, when people have come on and talked about speaking, and they've talked about business engagement, and they've talked about, you know, social media and things like that, it's really spoken to me because they're the areas that I want to be good in. So that's where I've really learned from all of my guests. And I think that when I'm doing the pre-interview with them and I'm having that initial engagement with them right at the beginning, if they are not interesting to me, I know that looks a very selfish thing for me to do for my show. If they're not interesting for me, then they don't get onto the show. I feel like I want to be engaged in that time. And it takes a lot to get my interest, to get me engaged. So if that guest at the pre-interview stage can get my attention for that time, I know they're going to be able to get people's attention, because I need to have you be interesting, informative. So yeah, I've learned so much from all of my different guests. Every single guest I've had on, there isn't one person in that year that I've looked at that name and I've thought, oh, it's you today. And then that's the control that, you know, that's the control that you get with your own show, is that you always pick who's going to come on. And I've never looked at a name and gone, oh, it's you. Oh, I can't wait for this one to be over. You know, I haven't. I've looked at them. And in fact, some of the shows I've ran over the 60 minutes because it's been so engaging for me and so interesting. So I have gone over because I've had even more to speak with them about. And even when I call them afterwards and chat with them, we really extend that conversation. So there's definitely been people that have really helped me think differently as well about things, but in the most positive way. And I think lots of my guests, I mean, if you look back at my shows, I laugh a lot on my shows. There's a lot of things that we're laughing about that sometimes are rather sensitive in the issue of it, but we're laughing about, we're looking on the bright side of things. And there's some things that I love how my guests have been extremely authentic online with me. They've said really, really interesting things, deep things, things from the heart. And, you know, they've shared a lot of their private things that have gone onto the air, and they've been totally comfortable with doing that because I've talked to them ahead of time and said, are you okay to go there? Yes, I am. I would love to. I think it's going to help somebody. So actually them sharing their personal stories as well has really helped me really think big and really be thankful for different things that I have in my life. When there's been maybe some tragedy or some different things they've shared with me, it's helped me even feel even more gratitude in what I've got going on in my own life. So all of them have helped me, really, I would say.
Okay, and so have you found clients? Have you developed clients through your guests? Have you developed friendships? I don't know, collaborations?
You know, I've mainly found really, really great friends, which I think that at some point I would collaborate with some of them. Some of them I've already done co-authoring with in the book. Some of the guests that have come on have actually been fellow authors that are not in the health and fitness industry, but they've had other industries that have been of interest to me, for me to share and talk about. So I've had, you know, a couple of clients come from that, but mainly it's been just getting people connected. Like for me, I found people that I guess you could call my village. Every single guest that I've had on, I've had a connection with, that easily, if I had a party with all of my guests that I've had on over the last year, it would be an amazing room to be in. If I could get them all into the same room, it would be an amazing thing. They would all connect. They'd all have something of interest to say. I feel like it would have to be an 8-hour party. It couldn't be a 3-hour evening party. It would have to be an all-day thing. I would love to have them all in the same room because they're an engaging set of people. And I feel like I've made some great friends within that because I've really dug deep in what they've done in life, what I'm doing in life. So, you know, as far as collaborations, there are some people that I look at and think, okay, you know, you could work with them doing this, you could work with that. And one lady that came on, she does all of my PowerPoint presentations, you know, where I wasn't having someone do my PowerPoints for for my events. Once I started doing them, she does amazing PowerPoints for me, because that's not my zone of genius. You know, I have someone else that I've spoken with that does all my business background for me, for my business cards and all of the different things that I do. You know, someone else I spoke to is doing my website. So I have found really great business connections from that as well. And also, you know, people to go to or send people to, because now I know more about people. So I know that I have now confidence to send different people to different areas and say, okay, you should work with this person because I think they'd be really great at this. I'm all about having a zone of genius, and I think we've all got a zone of genius. So when I'm looking at my guest list now on my computer, I'm looking at who I've had over this last year, and every single person has an expertise in their field. So for me, if I was going to collaborate with some people and do different things, I know exactly who to go to and who is going to align with me in what I'm offering, what I'm doing, how I could get along with them, and how it would benefit what I'm doing for me, but also for the people that would be working with us. So that's how it's gone. I've just met some amazing people that I feel like I could connect with, get in touch with at any time, and just be able to work with really, really well.
I know I've listened to most of your shows, and they've been really, really cool. They've been really awesome. And it's a lot of times you sit back and think, wow, I didn't think of that. And gee, that's great. You know, maybe I should do this and this and this. So I have to give my 2 cents to that as well. A lot of insight, and yes, a lot of very well-rounded people you've had on as guests. So it's been very cool. Now tell me, Sarah, what advice would you give to someone who would you advise someone to start their own podcast? Or if they have started, what advice would you give them? What advice would you give someone if they'd want to start their podcast? Would you suggest they do it?
Oh, definitely. I definitely advise you to start the podcast and think about how it's going to be for you to do it, how it's going to fit into your schedule, how serious are you going to take it, and also what are you going to talk about? You need to think about something that interests you. So if you look at the Coaches on Fire and you see how everyone has their different niche that they're talking about and the different type of guests that they're having, you can really see from their title of their show what you're going to be listening to, what you're going to be part of, and whether it's going to be something that you're going to be engaged in listening to, and whether you're going to listen to the whole show. You know, my whole game is to really, really want people to listen from beginning to end and not turn it off and go, oh, this is boring, I don't want to listen to this. They're not talking about anything interest to me. So if I was going to advise someone to start a show, I would say that I really think they need to get a title that resonates with them. Your title has to be exciting for you to be able to create. So when you're putting it together, you go, okay, now I'm going to find this guest to talk about this different thing because this is what my show's all about. So don't go into doing a podcast blind. Don't go in thinking, oh, I'll just have all these different people on and, you know, I'll have this person, we'll talk about this. Really make sure that you have an idea in mind, put a plan together of how you want it to look, and have your guidelines, like how long is your show going to be? You know, always have it on a day that's convenient to you and a time. Don't ever feel like you're fitting it in. Take it so seriously, and because it is, you know, people are going to listen and associate with you and what you want to talk about, but they're also going to be really interested in your guests as well. So I would advise doing it, but really plan it well. Plan it well. Know what you're going to speak about, know what you're going to promote yourself on that show, and also know who you want to have on your show. Think about the type of people. And once you know that, you've got massive opportunities to go into that area to find those people in their expertise. So that's the advice I would give.
Thank you, Sarah. And I think I'd have to ask you this question is, what about asking the guests? Have you ever had someone that you've picked up the phone and said, hey, you know what, will you come and be a guest on my show? And they said, no, go away.
No, I've had every single person say yes. I've never had anyone say no. Good question.
Why do you think that is so?
I think it's because I'm friendly. I think they've listened to the show. I think I've given them a reason to be on the show and said, you know, maybe I've pumped them up in the call or the email. You know, a lot of people have got in touch with me. And in fact, what's been really wonderful, when I've got in touch with people, they've said, my God, I'd be honored to be on your show. I would love to be. So I've only had positive feedback in this last year, anybody I've asked to be on the show or anybody that's got in touch with me to be on the show, it's been a good fit. And yeah, when I've called people or emailed them, they've immediately got back